Have you ever stood in front of your bank account at 2 a.m., the world asleep, but your mind racing, your heart pounding like a war drum? I did, and I remember it with painful clarity. The numbers on my screen didn't just reflect my finances. They reflected my fears, my failures, my exhaustion. 17, that's what I had left. No upcoming paycheck, no savings, just a nearly maxed out credit card and a sense of suffocating guilt. I sat in my studio apartment, if you could even call it that, staring at peeling walls, mold in the corner of the bathroom, a space heater that groaned louder than I did. That night I cried, not from sadness, but from shame. I had worked so hard. I had followed the rules. Go to school, get a degree, be responsible. And yet here I was, broke, broken, and completely lost. No one knew. On Instagram, I still posted smiles. At family dinners, I nodded and said, yeah, things are going great. But deep down, I was drowning. And I didn't know how to ask for help. And then came Tuesday, a cold gray morning where I didn't even want to open the curtains. I made coffee with the last scoop of grounds I had and sat down to scroll through job listings I didn't feel qualified for. And that's when I saw it. A simple quote in the middle of someone's blog. It said, don't save what's left after spending. Spend what's left after saving. Warren Buffett, just one sentence. But it hit me harder than any bill collector's call because that was my entire life wrapped up in one line. I spent first, always, then waited for some magical leftover to save. But there was never any leftover, ever. So I did something ridiculous. I opened a second bank account. I didn't know why, it just felt like a line in the sand. And I set up a recurring transfer. $10 a day. That's it. Not a goal, not a challenge, just a habit. Every single morning at 9:05 a.m., my account would move $10 into that quiet little vault, no matter what. Even if it left me with $0, even if it meant skipping lunch. I made a decision I would become someone who saves even if I didn't feel like I deserved to. And let me tell you something unexpected. That $10 a day, it didn't just build savings, it built identity. I stopped seeing myself as the broke guy just trying to survive. I started seeing myself as someone who takes care of his future. That one act, done daily, told my brain a new story. It said, you are worthy of a better life. Slowly, that belief changed my behavior. I started cooking more at home. I canceled subscriptions I wasn't using. I read books I found at thrift stores. I took free online courses. I asked for advice. I volunteered. I freelanced. I didn't change overnight, but I changed. And that small $10 transfer, it kept going, quietly, consistently, without drama. Until one day I opened that second account, and there was $2,000 sitting there. $2,000, not from luck, not from gifts, but from the quiet consistency of showing up daily for my future self. Let's go back to that morning. It wasn't special. The sun didn't shine brighter. There was no motivational music playing in the background. It was just me, a secondhand laptop that froze every 20 minutes, and a growing sense of desperation. I had been job hunting for weeks, waking up early, scrolling endlessly, tweaking my resume, sending emails into the void. My inbox was a graveyard of thank you for applying auto-responses. I was hungry, literally and emotionally. My pride was bruised, my confidence shattered. I remember staring at a Craigslist listing that offered $9 an hour to pass out flyers in the freezing cold and thinking, maybe that's all I'm worth right now. And that's when it happened. I was about to close the browser, defeated, when I saw it. A tiny quote buried in a blog someone had linked in a forum. Don't save what's left after spending. Spend what's left after saving. Warren Buffett, 11 words, but they cracked something open inside me because it was the opposite of how I lived. I had been doing it all backward. Paycheck comes in, I spend, I survive. And maybe if the stars align, there's $1 or $2 left. But most times there wasn't. And I realized it wasn't just about money. It was about mindset. It was about how I valued my future. I had been treating savings like an afterthought, like a luxury only rich people had the discipline for. But what if I flipped it? What if I made saving the first thing I did, no matter how small, and let the rest fall into place? So I got up. I didn't clean the apartment. I didn't eat breakfast. I walked down to the nearest bank and opened a second account. Not a savings account, just a regular checking account. I wanted it to feel normal, like brushing my teeth or tying my shoes. And right then and there, I pulled out my phone, opened my bank app, and set a recurring daily transfer. $10 every morning, automatically, not optional, not negotiable. $10 gone before I could even think about it. And you know what? That decision felt like breathing again. Not because of the amount, but because of the intent. For the first time in years, I felt like I had taken control of something. It was tiny, but it was mine. It felt like a joke, honestly. $10. That wouldn't even cover my Netflix bill, let alone turn my life around. But something deep inside me said, try anyway. And so I did. I made a pact with myself. No matter how hard things got, no matter how hopeless my situation felt, I would show up for this one small habit. Every single day at exactly 9:00 a.m., without exception, $10 quietly moved from my main checking account into the secondary account I began calling the vault. It wasn't just about putting money away. It became a daily ritual, a tiny act of rebellion against the chaos of my life. It was me saying, I'm not done. That daily transfer became a form of meditation, a signal to my brain. We are still building, still moving, still believing. It didn't matter if I felt behind or broken. When the notification popped up, $10 transferred successfully, I felt a tiny hit of pride, not because of the money itself, but because of the message behind it. I had kept my word to myself. And you know what? That quiet voice of doubt in odds me, the one that used to scream, you'll never get out of this, started to go quiet. In its place, a new voice emerged, a voice that said, you are someone who shows up. You are someone who protects your future. You are someone who respects discipline, even when it's hard. I started walking differently, talking differently, thinking differently. I no longer saw $10 as small. I saw it as sacred. It wasn't just repetition for the sake of routine. It was reputation. It was resilience. And slowly I realized this. We don't become successful by flipping a switch. We become successful by flipping the same switch over and over again. You see, money isn't just math, it's meaning. It carries emotion, belief, self-perception. For the longest time, I saw money as a mirror of my failures. I'd look at my balance and feel shame, not because of the number, but because of what it said about me. That I wasn't smart enough, that I didn't work hard enough, that maybe I wasn't worth saving for. But then came the habit, just $10 a day. And suddenly, the narrative shifted. Instead of seeing money as proof of my inadequacy, I started seeing it as a tool for self-respect. Every time that small transfer went through, it wasn't just a transaction, it was a vote for the person I wanted to become, a person who cared, a person who planned, a person who didn't wait for wealth to show up magically, but built it one brick at a time. And here's the thing, no one around me noticed. My friends didn't see the change. My family didn't celebrate, but I did, quietly, privately. That account began to grow, 300 after a month, 960 after 3 months. But the true transformation wasn't the money. It was the mindset. For the first time in my adult life, I didn't feel like a victim of my finances. I felt like a builder, like an architect of something lasting. And with that new identity came new questions, not why am I always broke, but what if I could grow this? What could this become if I stay consistent? That $10 habit made me believe I was someone worth investing in. And once I believed that, my actions changed. My decisions changed. My entire relationship with money changed because wealth always starts with belief, and belief starts with identity. So I picked up a side hustle. At first, it was small, helping someone update their resume, writing a blog post for a friend's business. But something started to click. I realized I had more to offer than I thought. I knew how to research. I knew how to organize information. I knew how to listen. So I leaned in. I signed up for freelance platforms, created a basic website, pitched myself to people in Facebook groups. Was it glamorous? Not at all. But it was income. And every single dollar I made, I treated it like sacred energy. I created a simple rule. For every dollar I earned outside of my main job, or what little I had at the time, I'd take 10% and move it straight into that second account. No exceptions. $10 from a small gig, $1 moved, $100 from a client, $10 went straight into the fortress. And I never touched it. I didn't even look at it most days. Because this wasn't money for emergencies. It wasn't for rent. It wasn't for rewards. It was a symbol that I had decided to build something, a symbol of self-trust. That small account became my momentum. Every transfer reminded me that I was moving. I was growing. I was becoming someone who could generate wealth, not just wait for it. And that belief, that forward motion, it changed how I walked into rooms, how I spoke to people, how I saw opportunities. Because when you start building momentum, even the smallest wins feel like massive victories. You begin to play offense with your life instead of defense. You stop reacting and start creating. That second account didn't just hold money, it held identity. It held proof that I was no longer sitting on the sidelines of my own life. I was in the game, and the game had just begun. Fast forward a year, I had done it. $9,000. From ramen dinners and debt collectors to 4 digits I had earned, protected, and built one habit at a time. But now came the moment most people get wrong. I didn't spend it. I didn't reward myself with a vacation or a new phone or anything flashy. I looked at that 9,000 and asked myself one question. How can this create more value? And the answer wasn't stocks. Not yet. The market would always be there. But I might not be ready to leverage it until I leveled up me. So I went all in on something most people overlook. Personal growth. I bought courses that stretched my skills. Copywriting, digital marketing, business psychology. I paid for coaching from people who had walked paths I wanted to walk. I booked a ticket coach class, budget hotel, and flew across the country to attend a mastermind. I was by far the least successful person in that room. Everyone else had businesses, teams, momentum. I had an idea and a notebook, but I sat there soaking in every word. I filled journals with frameworks, questions, and action plans. And then I went home and did the work. That's what most people skip. Execution. It's easy to invest in knowledge, harder to integrate it. But I knew information without implementation is just expensive entertainment. So I applied, I failed, I adjusted, I tried again. And little by little, things moved. I wasn't aiming for a miracle. I was building a machine. One habit, one lesson, one action at a time. That $9,000 didn't just buy courses. It bought clarity. It bought confidence. It bought a new identity. I am the kind of person who bets on themselves. And when you start believing that, really believing it, everything changes. I built systems messy, imperfect, but mine. I took notes on everything. Not just what worked, but what failed. I created offers, some flopped, some barely made a dent, but a few stuck. And with every iteration, I learned. I failed forward. I revised, rebuilt, relaunched. And through it all, that $10 habit, it never left me. In fact, it evolved. $10 turned into $15, then $30. Eventually, as income grew, I was saving over $100 a day. But I never would have gotten there without mastering the habit at $10. It taught me that growth isn't about volume, it's about consistency. It's not about what you do once when you're excited. It's what you do every day when no one is watching, when no one is clapping, when results haven't shown up yet. That's where wealth is built, in the unseen, in the repetitions, in the private moments when you choose discipline over distraction. Most people are waiting for a miracle. They believe success is this one-time jackpot, a raise, a deal, a viral video, a lucky break. But I learned that success doesn't come from what you do occasionally. It comes from what you commit to daily. It comes from the invisible compounding of action, the way drops of water become oceans, the way steps become marathons, the way a $10 habit becomes financial freedom. People always ask, what's the secret? And they expect some grand answer. But the truth is boring. It's not sexy. The secret is doing the work. Every single day, even when it feels small, and especially when it feels small. Because when you zoom out, you realize those tiny actions weren't tiny at all. They were seeds. And if you keep watering them long enough, you don't just change your bank account. You change your identity. By year 3, I had launched a small digital business from my bedroom. No funding, no team, just me, a laptop, and the knowledge I had invested in. It wasn't fancy. It didn't go viral overnight, but it worked. Then came year 5. That's when I crossed my first 6 figures. Not in theory, not projected, real income, real deposits. I still remember the day I saw $100,000 in annual revenue and cried not because of the money itself, but because I knew where I had started. That ramen-eating kid with $2, 17 in his account, was now living proof that tiny habits grow into massive transformations. By year 8, my net worth passed the $1 million mark. It wasn't from a lottery. It wasn't from flipping NFTs or riding a bull market wave. I didn't have a trust fund or a rich uncle handing me seed capital. What I had was one thing, a rich habit. One habit repeated daily. One habit that didn't require talent, status, or luck. Just commitment. Just belief. And here's where the story turns to you, because this isn't just a success story, it's an invitation. What could $10 a day do for you? Maybe you're rolling your eyes. Maybe you're thinking, that's nothing. But I promise you, it's never about the amount. It's about the message. It's about what you're declaring to yourself each day. I matter. My future is worth showing up for. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need the perfect budget or the best timing. You just need to start. Open that second account. Set up that tiny transfer. Honor it. Protect it. Let it grow. Not just in dollars, but in identity. Because $10 isn't just a transaction, it's a transformation. And maybe 5 years from now, you'll be telling your story too. You'll remember the day you started small. The day you planted the seed. And the day you became the kind of person who builds wealth, not just in your bank account, but in your mind. And it all began with a single, repeatable, powerful, ridiculous little habit.